I'm very excited to be talking about this book, this wonderful story of struggle, but also of great hope. And I think we could start perhaps to talk about the story of how Jethro, how did you find this book? This book was published first in 1995, and it has only made it in translation in 2017, which is quite a long time afterwards. So I'm sure there's a story in there.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, Francisco, you're almost part of that story. I was just explaining before this, I checked.
I love being part of your stories.
I checked in my Gmail to see when I'd first come across the book, and I found an email to you from February 2015 saying I'd just read a great book called The Ultimate Tragedy by Abdulai Sila. But no, there's a bigger story. Hello, everybody, first of all, and nice to see a few familiar faces out there. I live in Portugal, as some people know, and I had read an article in the newspaper interviewing Abdulai, I think maybe about a play, because he, as well as novels, more recently he's written for the theatre. And I was aware I hadn't read anything about Guinea-Bissau or any novels. I also knew that nothing had been translated from Guinea-Bissau because of a blog that some people will be familiar with, Anne Morgan's A Year of Reading the World. And she tried to read a novel from every country in the world, and certain countries proved difficult stroke impossible. So I think in the end for Guinea-Bissau, she maybe read some, I can't remember, but possibly some writings by Amilcar Cabral. It was a non-fiction work. So I knew there was no fiction translated, and as a translator trying to find a niche and possible works to translate, I thought that was an avenue worth pursuing. The next step was then to get hold of a book by Abdulai. The article I'd read explained he'd written a trilogy, but you can't really find these books in bookshops in Lisbon, which is absurd, frankly, but that's perhaps another topic. So I looked in the libraries of Lisbon and eventually found The Ultimate Tragedy. I think maybe all three, but I knew The Ultimate Tragedy was the first of the three. So I took it out of the library and read it and thoroughly enjoyed it. I do remember then I wanted to renew the book so that I could do a sample translation, and I was maybe a day late taking it back. And there's the Galveias Library in Lisbon, and they said, oh, well, you can't renew it because you're late, so you have to not pay a fine, but you're sort of like suspended for 2 weeks. So I was like, well, okay, right, when will I be able to come in to get it? And they said in 2018 or something. It was 2.5 years away. I was like, what? And it was the last day before the library closed for refurbishments. It was a massive rebuild. So I had to beg the girl. I said, I'm a translator. There's never been a book translated, or blah, 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 cultural significance, etc. And she finally let me renew the copy for not quite a couple of years. I had to take it back to a different library. Anyway, having enjoyed the book and wanted to pursue it, I sent Abdulai an email. He lives in Guinea-Bissau. At the time, I think in Bissau, he's now in a village. But as luck would have it, he emailed me almost immediately to say he had one night in Lisbon on the way to Bissau from the US, I think. And so we quickly met for a beer. I explained what I wanted to do, and he said, yeah, you've got my blessing. And yeah, the next thing was to try and find a publisher. But I'll leave the story there for you for now.